Good afternoon, at least it is here in Nova Scotia. Leah Parsons for our weekly talk, coming in from Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, to talk today about becoming your own best friend and your triggers and what triggers are. So, what are triggers? Emotional triggers are what I'm talking about today. And we don't have to search for them. They'll just show up because they live inside of us. So as we enter our day, as we enter our week, our month, we walk into the world, and there's an undercurrent that's sitting there under the surface. And it might be someone who cuts you off in traffic. It might be somebody who says something to you the wrong way or says something to you in an accusatory tone, and all of a sudden, we feel tense, we feel tightness, we're kind of getting wound up. But is that really about the situation, or is that what's going on inside of you? Because I know that with PTSD or any of those things, which a lot of people are walking around with these days, and if they haven't dealt with their past traumas, wherever that may be, we all have them. Some have bigger ones than others, but we all have traumas that we're carrying around inside of us with an emotional energy, because we're not just the mind, right? So we can't heal anything by going from the mind to the mind. And it took me a lot of years and lots of years of studying in university in psychology, for almost 8 years of studying the mind, and then long before that just reading anything I could get my hands on, hoping that something would sink in, that something would kind of grab me and resonate with me on a level that changed me fundamentally. But that doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen, because we can't heal ourselves intellectually. We can get a level of awareness, a level of understanding of why something is the way it is, or why we are the way we are. But again, that's not healing just because you know. So we have to drop in a lot of things that happen in the Western medical model is looking at the mind strictly as separate from the body and all our systems. Like they have, the nervous system, the vascular system, circulatory system, endocrine system, all of our systems have been studied as if they're separate systems. But we know that science has already proven many times over that all of these systems impact one another. So of course our emotional body is connected to our immune system, which regulates everything in our body. So how can it be separate? So if we're going from the mind to heal, we're just not going to get very far. And I'd like to share this information with people because I think a lot of people are waking up now to see that, wow, I know now, and I did all this talking and I figured out all the reasons why, and I have all the theories, I have the names for it and everything, and why do I still feel so broken and empty inside? Because we have to heal on a deeper level than that. So when we walk into our day and into our life, our emotional triggers are going to show us where we need to pay attention. So we don't have to search for anything, because life is going to show up and show us. So when we get triggered and we get that familiar feeling within us, whether it's a sense of anger, anxiety, tightness, sadness, rage, grief, regret, whatever it is, guilt, we know it because it's familiar to us. And we felt it yesterday, last week. We felt that kind of surge of whatever it is in our body, and then we put our story to it. Well, that's because people are out to get me. That's because, people don't respect other people anymore. That's because, they just want to ruin my day. We put all of our stories with it. But the truth is, what's inside of you is inside of you. And if it's triggered, it's there because it wants to show you something. So many of us spend our life looking at other people's lives and judging them and talking about what they need to do or why they made these wrong decisions. Or we live in the external world focusing on all the things out there. And the sad part is we don't spend enough time getting to know ourselves intimately, to getting to know what makes us tick. How does my nervous system react to this? How am I feeling in this moment? What's going on inside of me? Why did that simple incident of a car cutting me off send me into a rage? What's going on? Following your emotions, getting out of here, and stop blaming everybody else for your life situations and circumstances. And yes, horrible things have happened to many, many people. But we have to take responsibility for our own feelings, and we have to move through that. And we do that with love and compassion, not by being harsh with ourselves and judging ourselves harshly. But if we ignore what's going on inside of us because we've been told not to make a fuss, not to speak your truth, not to bring it out, or nobody even taught you how to manage your emotions or what is actually going on to put it into words, then that's where we need to start. We need to start with becoming our own best friend. So that's what I had to do in my deep journey of grief and PTSD and darkness and all of the spirals that I went through over and over and over again. I had to start paying attention to what emotionally was happening inside of me and how my body was physically responding to it, and then how my mind was coming in to tell me the stories about it. So it's the mind, the body, and the spirit. And when I started decluttering and unlayering it and really getting to know my system intimately, it was then that I was able to kind of start moving and shifting and getting curious and being kind to myself. Like, oh my gosh, you're in so much pain right now. Like that you're hurt, you're sad. Of course you're sad. What can we do together in this sadness? Getting to know yourself on that intimate level and being okay with triggers. It's okay to feel triggered. It's okay to not know what to do with it. But first we have to sit with it. And most people are even terrified of sitting with their own emotions or even inquiring what's going on inside of them. Instead, they're reaching for the drugs, the food, the sex, the overworking, over-exercising, social media, whatever it is, binge watching. And there's nothing wrong with any of those things in moderation, of course. I'm talking about over use of any of those. Right? Because then it becomes a numbing mechanism. So a lot of people who have had lots of trauma in their life have already learned to disassociate from their body. They've already learned to kind of check out. Right? They've learned to check out, to not be present, to not be paying attention, to be distracted all the time by having to look and not being able to just sit with themselves. And I feel like that's really sad if you don't know yourself well enough to know what's going on inside of you. And I did that for many years by staying in the intellectual mind and figuring it out. So that's my invitation to you this week, is to check in. What are my triggers? Where do I feel it in my body? And what are the stories I'm attaching to it? And can I shift something in that? Can I shift it and get curious and then meet that with some compassion? Meet that with some kindness and some thoughts. Can I nurture myself in this moment? And you're going to see a shift, small things in our day-to-day. And if you just notice one trigger, one emotional trigger, one of those things, and you did something different with it, and you did that every day, you will see a huge change. Because you're creating new neural pathways. You're interrupting the loop from the mind to the mind to the mind. You're interrupting the story. And it's from that place that we're able to actually shift and create new neural pathways. And that's the stuff I love to teach. That's the stuff I love to do. And these are the things I do with myself, so I know that they work. And it's a daily practice that is so worth it, because you're worth it. And getting to know yourself is just worth the effort of doing these check-ins throughout the day. So hopefully you're having a great week. And if you're not, maybe start listening to that and see what those emotions are trying to tell you. They're trying to get your attention. And if you ignore them, they're going to manifest in the body. So paying attention to those places is a really important thing to do. Okay, I'll see you next week. Bye.